Mhm. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another virtual travel party with Latino World Travelers. I am so excited to be here after my cross-country trip, which I cannot wait to show you. Today we have with us Richard. He's my best friend, and I cannot wait for you to hear everything he has to tell us about Haiti, finding gold in Haiti. So welcome, Richard. Thank you so much for being here. Yay! Absolutely. So maybe let's start with like the picture that we posted of you. Where was it taken? Mm. So tell us about the different areas of Haiti, because when people want to travel there, sometimes they feel overwhelmed because they don't even know where to go, what to do. So maybe tell us about that. Mhm. Mhm. Mm, I can't hear you for some reason.
Yeah, I've been texting you. We can't hear Richard. I can only hear you.
Yeah. Let me see. Can you speak again? I thought it was my headphones, but
I don't know. I've been sending you mad messages.
like,
Can you hear me now?
yes,
Yes.
So,
yes, I can hear you now.
okay, so much better.
Mhm.
Um, but like what I was saying is, it depends on what you're looking for. When it comes to like, if you're looking for history, definitely the North is the historic sites that date back to the independence and after the independence. Um, you have the capital in the center of the country where you have, of course, the museums. You can take a hike to the mountains. You can take a short trip to the beach.
Mhm.
You find more concentration of different foods and things like that that you can try. Now, if you're into, say, people that are into carnival, that are into like the costumes and things like that, Jacques Mel is more the place where you would love. If you, it's kind of like, it reminds me a lot of New Orleans. So
Mhm.
that, if you're into that kind of things, that's the place for you to be. Um,
What do they have there in Carmel?
Jacques Mel.
Jackmel. Okay.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It also depends on who's asking, because I feel like as a Hispanic, I think Jack Mel would have a more significance because of certain things that played out through history, which I'm gonna touch into during my presentation.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. So let me just, whenever you're ready,
Okay,
just share
so
your screen and I will do it here.
what I'm gonna do, share the screen. Okay. Okay. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to play a video for you guys, which I think was a great way to introduce Haiti to you guys. It covers like different parts of Haiti and gives you an idea of like what the sites look like, what the beaches and things like that look like. So I'm going to play it for you guys and enjoy it.
But where is this place? Obviously, on the Caribbean island. Waterfall, lush vegetation, blue water. Could it be Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad, or Martinique? No, it is Haiti.
So pretty. Oh, wow. It's crazy because when people picture Haiti, they sometimes don't picture this.
Exactly.
He's not trying to establish a new record. He's just having fun.
Now, this picture, I always see it everywhere. What is that?
That is, I can't tell you because I'm going to touch on that.
Okay. You know, I'm anxious and I want to know everything.
Okay, so like I said in the beginning, there's so many different things to touch on when you talk about Haiti. It's almost like impossible to like cover everything in the little time that we have. So I did my best to kind of like touch on different things. I have like a whole bunch of notes that I put together, and it's like I had to pick and choose things. But I'm glad you asked those questions because those are the ones that I'm mainly gonna talk about. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and launch the presentation for you guys. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the title of the presentation was Finding Gold in Haiti. Mm-hmm. And when I said that, I don't literally mean going digging and digging out the metal gold. Mm-hmm. I say this because I feel like, you know, having been born in Haiti, growing up in Haiti, I never, it's like I never really, I understood, but I was so young that I was a bit too young to appreciate some of the things that I've discovered in Haiti after moving from Haiti to New York and then going back and then reconnecting with my country. It's like rediscovering yourself. It reminds me a lot of the story of The Alchemist, which is one of my favorite books. where you go through so much and then you discover something and you realize that, you know, all this time you had it in you. So for me, that's what finding gold in Haiti meant. You know, Haiti is the place that has, you know, so much history, that has accomplished so much. So we're gonna start with that, and then I'll give you guys like snippets of the stories of the history before we get into like the traveling part and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, you know, the basics. Haiti is in the Caribbean. It's basically it shares the island with the Dominican Republic. As you can see, on the western side is Haiti, on the eastern side is the Dominican Republic. For some reason, a lot of people don't usually associate it as like the same island. Of course, you know, we have a close connection with the Dominican Republic, not just physically, but as history will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's on the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. Haiti was quote unquote discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1492 when he believed that he had discovered India, which is why, you know, nowadays it's called the West Indies. This is in 1492, and one of the interesting things is that one of my favorite parts in Haiti, where I took the picture that you put on the flyer, is actually where Christopher Columbus's Santa Maria sunk. So
And what is that place called?
The specific place where we took the picture is Labadie, and the Santa Maria sunk not far off Cap Haitian. So we're talking about the area of Cap Haitian. In this area, you can still go, and there's places where you can see the carvings in the walls from the Taínos.
Wow.
The Taínos were the Indians that lived on the island at the time that Christopher Columbus came, and many people good. And they were generous, you know, they would rush to bring gold to Columbus and the other Spaniards that came, of course, because something they found every now and then. So has two, which is Haitian Creole and French. The Haitians speak Haitian Creole. A lot of people are against or for pretty much like making the only language Creole, because that's the language of the people. The ones that don't have access to quality education normally don't speak French because French is taught in school. I'm definitely for the Haitian Creole being in most official things because that's the language of the people. Population is estimated around 11 million. The last time I checked was July 2020, and that it was 11.2 or something around there. Capital is Port-au-Prince. Nowadays, many people go, when it comes to touristic stuff, they go to the north, like I said previously, where you find more of the historic sites and things like that. Religion-wise is always an interesting topic when you talk about religion for Haiti, because you find it's more like a melting pot where you have pretty much all kind of different religions.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah. So you have most or of course Christians. You have Catholics, Protestant, of course Voodoo, which we inherited from the slaves that came from Africa, and all kind of other religions that you can think of. I don't know why sometimes like they don't associate things like you know, Islam and other religions like that to Caribbean nations or even like places like Haiti. But yes, I don't know why sometimes like they don't associate things like. So it's very interesting when you talk about religion. It's divided into all these different religions, but as they always say, no matter what your religion is as a Haitian, you still have like some parts of voodoo in you, because I always say this, you cannot remove that part from your culture. Of course, some people put it against Christianity and things like that, but once you dig deeper into it, you realize that they use almost similar thoughts and they just change. Like, for example, like in Catholics we have the saints, and then in Voodoo we have the loi. And they're represented by almost similar figures, just have different ways of reaching out to them. What I always talk about is I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And I remember my uncle represented the Catholic Church in Haiti. So I remember asking him a question, and I said to him, if I understand correctly, I am Catholic because I was born into a Catholic family. I was raised Catholic. So that means that they usually teach you that in order for you to be saved, you have to pretty much accept Jesus as your savior. What if I was born in Saudi Arabia and I was born into like a Muslim country, a Muslim family, and does that mean that automatically I would not be saved? And I remember him just saying, like, you know, God doesn't really look at religion. God looks at your heart. And I thought it was very interesting coming from a Catholic priest. But for me, it's almost something that is, I don't want to say a dilemma, but more so, I also use logic, you know. If you think about it, Christianity came to the islands when Christopher Columbus arrived on the islands. So the Indians didn't practice any of that really. They, you know, worshiped the sun, they worshiped like other things in their environment. But if you move fast forward to slavery, and then you have like the slaves that were brought into the island, and for us, the way that Haiti became independent is the first thing that happened is like they had a voodoo ceremony. And the voodoo ceremony was pretty much, it's not like you see on TV where they're saying, oh, the zombie's gonna come. It has nothing to do with that. It's more so.
And people believe it though.
Exactly. So what we're talking about is a voodoo ceremony where all the slaves got together in the mountains. And when they got together, they prayed, they reached out and to their African ancestors' spirits to ask them to guide them towards this evil that was slavery, that was the colonizers that were inflicting all this hurt on them. And of course, seeing how brutal they were in their fight for freedom, they said, well, this was evil. So clearly, to me, if you use logic, you're gonna understand that for 400 or 500 years, these people killed us. They treated us like so unfairly. They stole us away from Africa. But in the minute that we got together and reached out to our ancestors and asked them to guide us, then all of a sudden we're evil, you know?
Exactly.
So it's just doesn't make quite much sense, you know? But speaking of, Haiti is a nation of so many firsts. Like when I was putting this part together, I was like, okay, well, what should I talk about first? Like the revolution, the first Black nation. There's so many things that you can say about how Haiti became independent. But what I like to talk about when I talk about the Haitian Revolution is one thing that stands out to me is the fact that Haitians did not become independent. They didn't fight for freedom for the Haitians alone. They were fighting for something that they truly believed, that every single human being was born free and that they were entitled to be free. Some of the heroes of our independence were not Haitians. Some of them were not directly from Africa. Some of them came from different islands, and they put their fight together in order to conquer the French and declare independence. And the thing that's also interesting is that what they did is like they will also pay a lot of American generals at the time that didn't even recognize Haiti as a free nation. They were paying them $40 for every single Black person that they brought back to Haiti in order to be free, because on that land, everybody was to be free. And we're talking about $40, which was a lot of money at the time. But yeah, so we were the first one to abolish slavery. Right after independence, it was basically said that everybody on this land was a free man. Haiti is also the only place where a slave rebellion revolution ended up being resulted in the creation of a nation. So the first Black nation to gain its independence, only the second one after the United States in the Western Hemisphere. We also sent a lot of the soldiers that fought in the revolution for us. They had fought in the War of Savannah and helping the United States in their fight. We were also the first one to recognize the independence of Greece. At a time where the Greece were going through a difficult time fighting the Ottoman Empire, they had learned about Haiti's independence and revolution, and they reached out to us, and they wanted to know if we could help them with any weapons, with any soldiers. But at the time, Haiti had a lot going on. We had become this new independent nation that was still trying to get recognized from the countries on this side of the world. We were being imposed such a heavy debt by France and recognition for independence.
Isn't Haiti like still paying for it?
No, the debt was already paid. I think they finished paying it somewhere around the 1940 something, 1947 or so.
Okay.
So what we ended up doing is the president of Haiti at the time, which I believe was Jean-Pierre Boyer, what he did is he wrote back to the Greek and he told them, we're not in a financial position where we can send you actually money, or we can send our men directly. But at the time, coffee was such a big thing in the world. They sent Greece around 25 tons of coffee, which basically was to be sold in order to finance their war against the Ottoman Empire, and which they ended up being victorious, and Greece became independent, and Haiti recognized that independence as were the first one to recognize their independence. As this is on Latino World Travelers, I think it's a very interesting fact to talk about our connection to Simon Bolivar, the independence of Colombia in South America, where for different periods of time, Simon Bolivar wanted to deliver South America from the Spanish crown. And what he did is he went to Jamaica first, where he was seeking their help in order to fight off the Spanish. He got kicked out of Jamaica and he came to Haiti. When he came to Haiti, he received help in the forms of guns, in the forms of money. They gave him they sent him men to assist them in fighting off the Spanish. He went back to South America, where he got defeated the first time. So he came back to Haiti, where we again helped him, gave him everything that he needed, and then that's when he finally became successful. Wow. We did all of this in one condition. We asked him that the only thing that you had to do was to free the slaves. Because again, that's what Haiti was founded on, the idea that every man was to be free. Unfortunately, even though he did do that, he still didn't recognize Haiti as a free nation. And the reason for that was because at the time, you can imagine that in order for you to do business with the United States, who wouldn't recognize Haiti as a free nation, basically it was politics. Yes. So they needed, after the fact, they needed the United States more than they needed Haiti. So he did not recognize Haiti as a free nation at the time. The interesting fact in all that is that the flag of Venezuela was actually flown for the first time in the city of Jacmel, which we were just talking about.
Very interesting.
That is the very, very first time that this happened.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and that's why in a lot of places in Latin America, you'll see that they have statues of Simon Bolivar and Pétion and some of our heroes of independence. In Ecuador, they have that. And that's where the connection between Haiti and Hugo Chavez comes from, because Hugo Chavez is one of the leaders of South America who never forgot what Haiti did for them. and he always praised him. He always like helped Haiti. The airport in Cap Haitian is actually named after Hugo Chavez, because he was the one that helped us by providing the funds of Petrocaribe program to build that airport. And if you go on YouTube and you look at Hugo Chavez in Haiti, you'll see the time that he visited Haiti, and like he actually, the people of Haiti like took him from the airport and walked on the street with him. Such a joyful like moment. So if you have a chance, definitely check that out.
I didn't know that at all.
Yep. So there's like so much to learn. Trust me, when it comes to history. Now, one of the things that I love to talk about is, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching here have seen the movie Black Panther.
Of course.
And one of the things that they don't tell you about is, if you remember, as you can see in the image here, the women warriors of the movie, the ones that protected the king, were women, and none of the army were men. That's because these women are the Amazon, the Dahomey Amazon warriors. So they were from the kingdom of Dahomey, which is where Haitians of descendants of. That area is today what you would consider Benin and Togo. So the interesting fact is that the main hero of our independence is Dessalines. His aunt, who taught him the military tactics that helped him strategize against the French, was taught to him by his aunt, who was a warrior of Dahomey. So she was one of the protectors of the Black Panther. So very, very, very interesting. Which is why, like next year, we're gonna do like I'm trying to organize a trip to Benin and Togo so we can trace back those roots and discover the kingdoms of Dahomey.
That will be awesome.
The history and all that is just incredible. Of course, most of you have heard about Toussaint Louverture. If there's one hero of independence that you probably know about, is Toussaint Louverture. And I have my own reason why he's the one that you mostly hear about. And not just that he was a great warrior, but when he started fighting against the French, he was not totally for independence of Haiti. What he was fighting for was basically for Haiti to be a self-governing territory of France, kind of like what we have today as Martinique, Guadeloupe, those islands. So he wanted to remain a French territory. He was very proud to be a French general. And then, of course, he was named governor of the island. So he went up the ranks in the army until, of course, the French turned against him and they exiled him into France, where he later died. Wow. So if you go to the big museums, like if you go to African American Museum in Washington, D.C., you'll see a statue of Toussaint Louverture, where he's, held as a great hero of the independence for freedom of the Blacks, because he was the one that started that movement. And of course, the other heroes of independence finished it. So from there, we are moving on.
You're schooling us right here. I love it.
That's what I was saying. Like, it's almost impossible to talk about Haiti and not talk about all these things. So as we were talking about earlier about the voodoo, that plays a big role in Haitian culture, Haitian art. Haitian art is one of the finest that you'll find in the Caribbean. So diversified. You have all kind of different style of arts. Here you have pretty much a combination of typical Haitian art, which is basically what we call a fresco. Fresco is basically almost like an ice pop or something like that, in different flavors. I love the colors down here, and the person who did this, they coupled it with one of the Haitian voodoo signs, which is, as I wrote here, Erzli Freda Vive. It's basically represents passion, love, sex, beauty. And there's different ones that, you can look up if you do Haitian voodoo veve, and you'll see like different symbols. You see that a lot of Haitians, what they do is like they do this as a tattoo. which, you know, represent their culture, even if they don't practice voodoo, which is what I was saying. You can find somebody who, you know, is Catholic, but they know that voodoo is part of your DNA. Even if you don't practice it, you don't believe in all the things that they talk about, but you can't deny that it's part of your history. Because I always say you can't be proud of the independence of the Haitian Revolution and not be proud of that part, because the whole thing started with a voodoo ceremony that brought all the slaves together in order to defeat the French. And of course, this is another very, very, very interesting part that I had to put into this. So many times, like, you hear somebody say, well, you don't look Haitian. And it's
what
like,
does that look like?
exactly, what does a Haitian look like exactly? And I guess what they mean by that is, okay, most of their Haitian friends are, you know, they look typically African, they don't look a certain way. But Haitians, just like almost everybody else, comes in every shades, every colors, just like Dominicans and, you know, everybody else. Now, the reason why I wanted to include this part is because there's a couple of different facts that were very, very interesting part of the history. If you go to different parts of Haiti, you'll see that the people have different features. They look different ways. And these were, to me, some of the two most interesting ones. So what happened is, when Haitians were fighting for the independence during the Haitian Revolution, Napoleon wanted to reinforce the French troops that were fighting against the Haitians. So what he did is he basically chose a group of Polish soldiers, and he sent them to Haiti in order to fight the Haitians. Now, when these Polish soldiers got to Haiti, and they were under the impression that it was this big rebellion that was happening, and they were there to suppress it. And when they got to Haiti, they realized that basically the Haitians were fighting for the same things that they were fighting back home against the Russian. So what they did is, instead of fighting against the Haitian, they fought with the Haitian. And that ended up becoming a community of Polish Haitian, and they mix with the Haitian population. And nowadays, you can go to a place of the capital called Casal, where you find people just like this little girl, dark skin with blue eyes, green eyes. If you look at the men above, they have similar features to the Polish. They have like the eyes, the nose, all the facial features, but they're Haitian. And that resulted from that great community that came together from the Polish getting with the Haitian, fighting off the French. And another fact that is not really like talked about is, during the Holocaust, what happened is the Haitians secretly provided Haitian citizenship to a lot of Jews in order for them to escape the Holocaust. So a lot of them were able to move to Haiti, escape to Haiti with a Haitian passport, full citizenship, full rights, and everything. And this is why today you find a lot of different, you know, people with different backgrounds, whether it's people that have roots in Bangladesh, people that have roots in Poland, people that have roots in Israel, that make the Haitian population. So obviously Haitians don't have a specific look. And at the bottom, some of you might recognize Saraj. She is Haitian. I think she lives in the Dominican Republic right now. And she has a TV show. She does different kind of modeling things. A lot of people think that she is Dominican because she's so fluent in Spanish, and she, you know, she grew up part of her life in the Dominican Republic, that you would think that she's Dominican, but she's Haitian. Yeah. So again, we come in all shades and colors and different features and things like that. Yes. Now let's get to the good.
You're getting to my best topic right now.
So if you're planning a trip to Haiti, food is a big part of the culture. You cannot go to Haiti and not have some great Haitian food. There's so many different types of Haitian food. different parts that you go to will have different things that they love to eat. I try to put together some of the main things that I know Haitians love and that you have to try. So if you guys can see right here, this is probably one of the most unknown things to foreigners that have been Haiti or have had a Haitian food. This is called pickles. The better way to describe it is kind of like coleslaw but spicy. And what happened is a lot of times, like, people will go to Haiti and they'll try Haitian food and they'll eat this straight like this. And it's like, oh my God, that's not how you eat it. That is not, no, don't do that because your mouth will be burning. You see how they have it coupled with the tostones? You basically eat it with the tostones and the grill. This is fried pork.
Mm-hmm.
Basically eat these three together. It gives us more flavor. If you like it's really spicy, you can have your pickles really spicy. Of course, we have macaroni. This is actually one of my favorite dishes. And of course, our special, this is called Jojo. And it's a rice that's made with the base of a mushroom, which gives it the black color, gives it a little bit of taste. It's very, very, very good. And up top, you have something that's more like a cornmeal, and Haitians love to eat it with avocados. I know my wife usually puts salmon in it or whatever you want to eat it with. You can have it with. It's very filling. You have to eat it hot, so it has to be done fresh. It's better if it's from somebody who knows how to make it. Towards the center, of course, we have our rice and beans. And you can see a little bit of, I think there's a little bit of pickles right here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is legume. Legume is like a vegetable stew. Very, very good, very, very fresh if you have all the right ingredients. Now, the difference between our rice and beans and the ones that you guys have in the Dominican Republic is that what I found is that you guys have more beans in your bean sauce. Whereas for us, it's more like a pureed. It's more liquidy. It's more, you have less beans in it.
Do you eat more the black beans or the red beans?
We eat more the black beans.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at the bottom right, many people know about the fried food. We call this fritai, which is basically platters of all kind of different fried stuff. You can see the totones. You have we usually do something called kibi. We do akra, and these are little patties that can be stuffed with different kind of things in it. Mm-hmm. So you cannot go to Haiti and not enjoy these type of Haitian food.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish is definitely this right here.
Okay.
Which is the Jojo.
Jojo.
Yeah. And all that good stuff. Oh my God. So But yes, I have one of my friends that's actually on the Instagram Live. Like he said, this is our version of fast food. And he's actually a chef, so he knows about all of that stuff. So if you're planning a trip to Haiti, I put together, I think, 3 of the places that should be your top 3 places. And especially when it comes to access, those are places that will be very accessible. And you get an idea, even if it's a short weekend trip, where you can get the most for your money. Mm-hmm. Of course, your first stop in Port-au-Prince, the capital. What I usually do is I usually take everybody on a trip to the Mupana Museum, where you can learn about most of the history that we're talking about here. You can actually see everything up close and personal. They have a lot of things that date from the Indians era, the Columbus era, the Haitian Revolution. You can see like the chains from slavery days. So that should always be your first stop, where you can learn so much about the culture, about the history. You can see like the crown with all the jewels of Faustin Soulouque, who was the Emperor of Haiti. It's still in great shape, even though like a couple of the stones like are missing, but it's still in very good shape. It's shiny as always. You normally can't take pictures in there, but the guides are very good. You can ask for English speaking guide, and they'll give you like the full story. and right across the street from there, you have this monument, which is the Negmao. The Negmao is basically he represents the slaves who would escape to the mountains and organize. And here he is the one that is announcing the start of the Haitian Revolution through a conch shell. So that's how they did it. Because if they were escaping to the mountains, they were scattered around. They used the conch to basically the shell to basically communicate with each other and announce the start of the revolution, the meetings, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And once you in the capital, you can go from there to different parts of the country, and you can visit like the mountaintops. You can see all kind of different. You can go to different restaurants and nightlife and things like that. Now, if you're into Jacmel, like we were talking about in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you will have basically the opportunity to go to Jacmel and see different parts and different things of Haitian culture. So, of course, Jacmel is known for its carnival. The carnival in Jacmel is very colorful. It happens usually somewhere around February or March. You can participate in a carnival, which is very different from the other islands' carnival.
Mm-hmm.
The other islands, usually you have people that play mass, and they get in their costumes, they pay a lot of money for their costumes, and they participate and they dance and all of that. In Jacmel, it's more about the costumes, where you can go as a participant and actually get into like the dancing and all that. It's people that are paid to represent different tribe, different costumes, different parts,
Oh, wow.
whatever they want to represent. So here they were doing a version of Avatar, and they usually have different kinds of costumes. They usually have something called papier mâché, which is like a specific type of paper that they decorate in all kind of forms and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Jacmel in any other time, you have to go to Bassin Bleu, which is the waterfall right here at the top corner.
Can you jump from there, or can you just go in the water?
I've actually jumped from there. So yes, you can jump from there. It's a series of waterfall. This being the main one, and really higher than you're looking at it. Now, the interesting thing of this place is the locals believe that it's a very sacred place. That there's a lot of energy there. What I really loved about it is how deep it actually is. Like, if you're not a good swimmer, this is not for you.
So that's not for me.
You might as well stay. You can stay in like the other waterfalls, which are not as deep as this one, because this one is 75 feet deep.
Ooh.
So when you jump from it, it feels like forever before you come back up.
Wow.
But it's definitely a must place to see in Jacmel. At the bottom part, you can see this area is towards Kai Jacmel, where you have beautiful beach, beautiful coconut trees. It's a place where you can just enjoy the beach. You can eat some good food on the beach. They have all kind of little vendors that sell food and things like that. Jacmel is not my favorite beach destination in Haiti, and I say this because I enjoy more beaches that are calm. In Jacmel, the water is very rough, so you have a lot of strong currents. Unfortunately, a lot of people die in the beach in Jacmel because of the currents if they're not strong swimmers. Now, it's a surfer's paradise. You find a lot of people that go to Jacmel from the U.S. specifically to surf. And they develop like a little place near Kai Jacmel where a lot of the locals actually learn how to surf, and they teach others how to surf. So if you're into surfing, that's definitely where you want to go. And of course, it's a very, very storied place. Jacmel is the place in the entire Caribbean that was the first one to receive electric power. So at the time, they had called it the City of Lights. because it was the very first place to have electric power. Nowadays, you can go on the waterfront, and they have like a very nice walking area that's decorated with mosaic on the floor. Very, very beautiful place.
Oh.
But yeah, like somebody said on the Instagram live, if you're not a good swimmer, you don't get in the beach in Jacmel.
Yeah. How many days would you recommend someone spend there
In
in
Jacmel,
Mhm.
it depends on when you go. If you go for a carnival, of course, I would do maybe 4 days.
Okay.
It also
And
depends
when is Carnival?
Carnival is usually around February or March.
Okay.
It changes every year. But I think I personally would say spend 3 days in Jacmel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you can also spend a day. If you're only going from Port-au-Prince, you can go for the day, spend the entire day, but you have to basically limit what you're doing and when you're spending time where and doing what.
Okay.
And of course, my favorite part of Haiti, as we mentioned, this is a place where I'm like, I don't know, it makes me so proud whenever I go to Cap Haitian, and every single time I go to Cap Haitian, I feel like I discover more things. At the top, you can see the Citadel, which is what you had asked me about. The Citadel is the largest fortress in the Western Hemisphere. This
Wow.
was built by 20,000 former slaves, which was basically so when we got our independence, Dessalines commissioned that the generals to build fortresses to secure the newly free nation. And the Citadel was built by Henri Christophe, who had proclaimed himself king in the north, and we know him as the builder because he built so many nice monuments. He was very successful in the north. Now, some of the interesting stories of the Citadel was the guy that helped them build it was a British guy, and they spent so many years putting it together. The material that they used to build it is a mixture of different things, cow blood, molasses, different kind of things. And once he basically promised the guy that once we finish building it, you'll be able to leave and we'll allow you to.
Mm-hmm.
So once it was done being built, he told them from the Citadel, you have a nice view of the bay. And he told them that there will be a ship waiting for you there, and we'll make sure that you can securely leave from there, safely leave. Now, what you had to do is once you get on the boat, just wave a flag so that we know that you made it on the ship and that you'll be able to leave. And of course, he went on his way, and then when he got on the ship, he waved the flag, and Christophe ordered that they blow up the ship with a cannon.
Ah,
Now, can you guess why?
why?
Well, remember the guys when they proclaimed Haiti's independence, they fought for years and years against the British, the Spanish, the French, and they realized that no matter what, which is what they wrote in the Haitian Declaration of Independence, that the white person, no matter how friendly they seem, no matter how much they befriend us, they will never be the same as us. They will always be the cause of our issues. So with that said, if we build something so significant, such a big fortress with all this protection, all the cannons and things like that, if they allow that man to leave, then he would be able to go back to the British or the French and give all the secrets of the Citadel.
That's true.
So they took care of him, and the French never returned to the island. So they never had to use the Citadel's act to defend the island. Now, one of the interesting facts also is that when the French came on the ships, or any ship that would come to the Bay of Cadas, and they would look in the binoculars and they would look at the Citadel, when what they would say is they would tell their commander that they see a lot of men at the Citadel. They say, you know, it's impossible for them to count how many men they see, how many soldiers they see, because there were so many. But this is where Christophe was very smart. So what he would do is he would have multiple uniforms. So he would have 100 soldiers put blue uniforms, quickly change in red uniforms, quickly change in white uniforms, and then the guys on the ship would think that it's different soldiers.
Oh, wow.
So he would say that there's a lot of men. And that's where, you know, they, you know, became scared, and they thought there was so many men that they couldn't attack the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
But the Citadel is definitely a place where, you know, I think every person should visit in their lifetime. It's such an amazing monument, like mind-blowing. You can still see the cannons made out of bronze that were taken from the ship from the British to Spanish, and they are in immaculate condition. It is said to be one of the most important cannon collections in the world.
Mm-hmm. How were they able to keep it like looking that way, preserve it?
Honestly, I think it's because of, you know, it's made of bronze, so it's very durable, because it's not like they do any maintenance to them or anything like that. Even the cannonballs that you see in the back of the Citadel, they're still intact as if they were put there yesterday. Now, the question I thought you were going to ask was, how did they bring it up to the Citadel? Because those cannons weigh 15 tons, 5 tons for the small ones. So those are things that are almost impossible to carry. But like I always explain to people that go on a trip to the Citadel with me, you have to understand that these men, they were subject to the harshest conditions of slavery. So they knew what they were fighting for, and they knew that this was their way out of slavery, and they did whatever they needed to do in order to defend themselves and enjoy their freedom.
Yeah.
So in the bottom right corner is the Palais Sans Souci,
Wow.
which is the ruins of the Sans Souci Palace.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually the royal palace of King Christophe. It was made basically to show what the Haitians could build, what we can build as, you know, blacks. You know, it's not just the fancy palaces in France and Spain that, you know, we could enjoy. We can build our own also.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
And also,
this is also the place where I had my wedding, which was a very, very significant thing for me. It was a very proud moment. Now I have to say, speaking of the Citadel, I wish I had a picture of the front of the Citadel, because you would see that the front of the Citadel is shaped at an angle. This is one of my most favorite things of the Citadel. Now, a lot of people usually wonder, why did they build that triangle as the front of the Citadel? That's because Christophe wanted to build it to resemble the front of a slave ship in order to send a message to the French that this is what a slave can build. So very, very powerful meaning to almost all the monuments that they would build, tied to their freedom and basically what they believed in. And in the bottom left corner, right here, we have the Bay of Cadas, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in Haiti. It's nestled in between like these gorgeous mountains. You can only get there by boat. It's not an island. It's connected to the mainland, but you only can get there by boat. You can still find like cannons from the ships of, you know, the era of Christopher Columbus in the water. So some of the locals can take you on a boat and actually show you cannons under the water. This is the same bay where Christopher Columbus spent Christmas Eve in 1492, which he described in his journal.
Wow.
So a very, very storied place, very beautiful at night. If you're lucky enough to spend the night, you actually see the sky is covered with shooting stars. Just incredible. Wow. And this is actually one of the things that I actually learned today. And I wanted to make it a bit different, because you always hear about the history of Haiti. You always hear about the beautiful beaches for the most part. But this was actually something that I read about and I wanted to share with you guys. This is the first time I'm ever talking about this. So you guys are getting an exclusive first.
I love it. I love it.
So these two animals. So we're going to start with the one at the top left corner right here. This is an Hispaniolan solenodon. This animal has been around since the time of the dinosaurs. It survived almost millions and millions and millions of like changes. When you talk about the animal kingdom, the changes that happened, it remained intact. So it has stayed the same for that amount of years. You only find this in two islands, Cuba and Hispaniola. So you can find it in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and you find it in Cuba, which are two different species. The one in Cuba, I think, has more black and whitish hair. And this is the one from Hispaniola. Wow. It is extremely, extremely rare. They have their ways of avoiding any kind of modern trap. So it's rare for people to actually see them. Only a handful of people have actually got to see them. They have been able to take one just to study it. This one you only find in Haiti in a place called Massif de la Haute. Mm-hmm. But you can almost extinct. It's pretty much impossible to find. So you don't expect to go to Haiti and then you're going to find one of these. But you can look it up. I saw one video of it on YouTube, but it's so extremely rare. Yeah. And another interesting fact is actually venomous. So before this, I didn't think that we had any venomous animals in Haiti because we don't have any venomous snakes. But although it is venomous, it does not harm humans. It mostly uses venom to eat like insects and things like that. Okay. And in the right bottom corner is a candy cane snail. And as
someone said it disappears before you even blink.
As you can see, the colors are so colorful, and this one only lives not just only lives in Haiti, but only lives on one specific type of tree. Wow. I don't remember exactly the type of tree. I literally learned about this one today, so I will have to do a little bit more research. I'm sure my Instagram followers will be amazed by all of this. I'll share it on Instagram for you guys on there.
Mm-hmm.
And
so we have about 1 minute left on Instagram. Just so you know.
Okay, so this is actually the last slide that I have, which talks about the vetiver of Haiti, which is a kind of lemongrass grass, which grows mostly in the south of Haiti, which is very, very, very sweet. It is used to make this essential oil that pretty much exists in all the big brand name perfumes that you know of, Chanel, Cartier, all of the big names perfume. They actually use the same vetiver from Haiti. There's a big exporter of vetiver in the south. I used to smell it all the time when I would spend my summers in the south of Haiti. So if you go in the south of Haiti, you definitely want to take advantage of that opportunity and get to smell the vetiver, and as the locals to take you to the field where you can enjoy the vetiver.
Now, if I wanted to go and spend, let's say, a week or 10 days in Haiti, in which order should I visit those cities that you recommended?
Do you wanna log out of the Instagram live and we can relaunch it?
Okay.
So for you guys that are on Instagram, we're gonna close it and relaunch it so you guys don't miss anything.
Sounds like a plan. Okay. I'm just gonna. Okay. I just want to make sure I post it before. But this is really interesting about the lemongrass. I had no idea.
Yeah, it has a very strong smell. I watched a very interesting documentary on it the other day on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, you can find a very interesting video with uh, where they explain how they make it and how it plays an important role in making all those perfumes and colognes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm live again. We have to continue this conversation about Haiti. So we're just gonna wait. Yeah, our speaker is connecting. Beautiful.
Okay, so I am joining now on Instagram.
And we are gonna be live again.
Okay.
Awesome.
So yeah, so like I was saying with the Vitiva, it's a very fine essential oil. You can find them several boutiques that sell it, but if you go to Haiti personally, you can ask the locals. They actually, you can buy it directly from them. Unfortunately, this is not something that is spoken of much when you talk about Haiti as far as exports. So you definitely want to look into this. You can do all kind of things with it. If you want to like do aroma in your house, you can use it for that. But again, it's known mostly for perfumes. And which, to go straight into your question, this was the last slide that I had, and we're gonna get into like the part where what you were talking about. If you want to go to Haiti, of course, you can definitely always reach out to me. As the Haitian Nomad, we actually host trips to Haiti every year. We do all the parts that we just showed you. If you're not the kind that wants to go on a group trip and you want to do your own thing, we also offer customized trips where we can put something that is specifically geared towards your interests, whatever it is that you're interested in. We can put something together for you. To answer your question, if you were to go to Haiti and you wanted to know in which order to put a trip together, it really depends, because before the pandemic, we had direct flights to Cap Haitian. Now this is on hold, so I don't know when they're gonna restart the flights to Cap Haitian. But what I would suggest is basically, I would start my trip probably in Port-au-Prince. So you can fly to Port-au-Prince, and while you're in Port-au-Prince, you would do the cultural stuff, historic sites where you go into the museums, so you can learn about the history. You can learn about the island in general. From there, you can have a better sense of how the Haitians are when it comes to the different restaurants and things like that. You can mountains and get to you can hikes. You can find like little forts in near the capital. And while you're in the capital, you can do a day tour in Jacmel, or if you want to stay for a couple of days, you can spend 2 or 3 days in Jacmel. And then from there, you can do a 20-minute flight to Cap Haitian. And when you get to Cap Haitian, you can do the Citadel, you can do the palace, you can relax more at the beaches in Cap Haitian. And then once you're done with that, you can fly directly from Cap Haitian to the US or wherever you want to go. And from Cap Haitian is actually also not too far if you want to go into the DR. You can drive to DR from there and do a trip to DR if you want.
So the flights usually leave from Miami.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you're flying from here to Port-au-Prince, you can fly JetBlue direct to Port-au-Prince.
Oh, that's good. And normally, how much is a flight there?
It fluctuates depending on the season. I want to say that I feel like the median is somewhere around 500. That goes up tremendously depending on the season. Like if it's Christmas time, of course. If it's Carnival time, you pay different prices. In the summertime in Haiti, it's usually when they celebrate a lot of the different areas. So they have different festivals and things like that. So prices might fluctuate with that also.
Okay. Guys, please, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them in the chat.
Yes.
So we can ask Richard anything you need to know about Haiti and traveling to Haiti. What is your the hotel that you recommend if people go to Haiti?
It depends on which part of Haiti that you're going to. Personally, I think it depends on what you're seeking, because a lot of times you have people that are more interested in the voodoo culture. They want to learn more about voodoo and things like that. Those people usually go to Hotel Olofson, which is in downtown Port-au-Prince. The owner actually has a band which plays every Thursday night, and they play traditional voodoo music. And you can meet a lot of people that are into that religion, and they can teach you a lot of things. If my personal favorite hotel in Haiti is Hotel Montana, this is in Port-au-Prince.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because I like boutique hotels. I love the personal attention. I love the local cuisine. They have a beautiful not 360, but 180 degree view of the Bay of Port-au-Prince. So you have a nice view of the entire capital. So I would stay at Hotel Montana, which is also very central if you're going to Pétionville and if you're going to Port-au-Prince and seeing the museum and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to Cap Haitian, I think Satama Hotel is probably the best. And on the international standard, it'll be the one that, I would recommend. But now listen carefully. If you're going to Cap Haitian, which is, like I said, the more historic city in Haiti, if it's your first trip, and if you're not a bougie traveler, if you're not very picky, go to Hotel Wa Christophe. Or you can just Google it, Hotel Christophe.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I say this is because this is the hotel that was owned by the King Henri Christophe, the same king that built the Citadel. So yes, so you'll see a nice statue of him in the yard. They have really great food. It's a very small boutique hotel. You can walk from anywhere to anywhere in Cap Haitian from there. So I would go to Hotel Wa Christophe. Jacques Mel, you have different options. You have Sivadi Hotel, and you also have there's another one that the name escapes me right now, but Sivadi is probably the main one.
Someone is asking how much does it cost for you to get married there?
Huh. Do you really want to know? Let's just say that it's somewhere between $60,000 and $75,000. And I say this because for the Sanssouci Palace, you have to understand that there was nothing, as far as there's no electricity, there's no bathrooms. So you're literally building up so everything, like bathrooms, staff, security, so everything you have to bring with you. So that is where pretty much most of the money went to.
Mm-hmm. Serena is asking in the chat, is it safe? Anything we should look out for?
Is it safe is just like any other country. Like, what you should look out for is the same precautions that you would take at any other country. Do not put all your money in public. Don't wear flashy things like, a whole lot of jewelry and things like that. Usually whenever you go to a country that is I don't want to say third world, but that is a developing country, the people they have to do what they have to do to survive. And some people are going to take advantage of a situation that presents itself. So you'll be safe as long as you take basic precautionary measures. I always say that you're better off going with somebody that knows the country, because then you know where to go, where not to go, what to expect from different parts. And a lot of times people reach out to me and, I give them a price and they think, well, I've been to Africa. I've been to all these different places. I can handle on my own, but they don't get it. Haiti is a whole different place. You don't speak the language. Even though you can go to other places that you don't speak the language, but the infrastructure is not in place like other places where you can just go on your own and figure things out. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's always better to go with somebody that knows. Or, for example, I can give you a solid example. If you're in Port-au-Prince and you're going to Jacques Mel, the road to Jacques Mel is like, it twists around like this. And basically, if you're going with somebody that you don't know what conditions their car is in. So you want to make sure that you're going with somebody that has a safe car, that knows their way around, that knows how to get out of certain situations. For example, if you're stopped by the police for any reason, which is common, it's not like you did anything wrong or anything like that. But sometimes they just do general checks and they stop you. Whereas here, people usually tend to think that there's something wrong or they did something or they're in trouble. So you have to know what to do in those kind of situations, which is why I recommend going with somebody.
Absolutely. Any other questions, guys? Make sure you ask in the chat and at the bottom. Anything you want to know about Haiti. This is so exciting. You gave us so much information. Serena is asking, when are you taking us? When is your next trip to Haiti?
Well, actually, my next trip was supposed to be in August. But of course, with all the restrictions and things like that, we postponed that to November. We are going to go in November, November 19th to 24th. But again, when am I taking you is basically up to you. Just let me know when you're ready to go and we can put it together.
Yes, absolutely. Is that trip full already, the November 19th?
We have a couple of slots open on it, actually.
So now you know, guys, if you want to go to Haiti this November, make sure you message him, send him a DM.
Send me a DM, send me a message, go to HaitianNomad.net, and you get all the information on there.
Sounds like a plan. In terms of transportation, how is it there?
Transportation this is what I'm saying. This is why I don't think it's for the typical foreigner just pop up at the airport and think they're gonna figure things on their own, because public transportation in Haiti is for locals, literally for locals, because there's no signs that says where the bus is going. There's nowhere specifically to stand. You have to know basically the ways of the people. How do you stop it? How do you go? Which route they go. But the public transportation is composed of what you call tap, which are the decorated buses and pickup trucks with the back all colorful. And you basically hop on, and whenever you're ready to get off, you just tap the back, and that's,
you know you're gonna get out.
That's right. It's like it's like the dollar van of Haiti.
Okay, that's cool. Now, what is the currency that they use there?
So the currency is the gourd, which comes from the actual gourd that you eat, and it fluctuates, especially nowadays. It goes, I think last time I checked, it was around 100 and something gourd for $1 US. So it's been climbing
I can imagine.
But you can also, the US dollars are widely accepted.
And how is the phone service and the Wi-Fi?
Again, that's going to depend on the area and where you're going. Phone service is pretty decent. Everybody has cell phones in Haiti. You are better off getting a local SIM when you arrive at the airport, because you have great connection, and you have internet plans that you can use. Wi-Fi is going to depend on the place that you're staying. Of course, generally in the capital and the big cities, the hotels are going to have better connection.
And I know you had a trip to the Jazz Festival. What city is that, and what is that?
Actually, that's a great question. The Jazz Festival is an amazing opportunity to go to Haiti. Whenever we talk about the Jazz Festival, people usually think it's only about jazz. Even if you're not into jazz, it's one of the best ways to enjoy the Haitian culture, because they have different artists from different parts of the world that are sponsored by their embassies. So it's held in Port-au-Prince. The main events are in Port-au-Prince, and what they do is it's not one stage or something like that. It's spread across the entire city, and they have after hours with different artists at different restaurants and different venues. So you get to enjoy different cuisine, different music, different artists, and then they have satellite performances in places like Jacques Mel and places like Cap Haitian. So you can definitely do a week in Haiti for the Jazz Festival and visit all these different places and enjoy different kind of music and different kind of food.
That sounds lovely. When is that?
They usually have it in January,
Wow.
towards like the last week of January.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Now we have another question here. Do you know if T-Mobile works there?
Yes, I have T-Mobile, and they definitely work there.
Okay, and we have more questions here. What will the food budget per day be? Like, what would you recommend?
It depends on the type of restaurant that you're going to. And also, I feel like it really depends on where you're going. So, for example, if you're going to Cap Haitian, you'll find that the restaurants there are way cheaper than the capital and Port-au-Prince. And also, it depends on what restaurants you're going to in Port-au-Prince. In Port-au-Prince, you find that some restaurants straight up charge American dollars, and it can be expensive. Whereas you can have places that you go to and it's decent. The other day, I planned a trip for one of my friends in Cap Haitien, and I sent him to a restaurant and I asked him how was the food, and he was like, the food was amazing. And for me and my wife, I didn't spend more than $20. So that gives you an idea. Yeah,
that's good. How is the music there? Is there a nightlife? Tell us about that.
well, Haitians are big on nightlife. We're more of a, like I said, a melting pot. We listen to all type of music. You definitely have, our main music is compa. Haitians love bachata, salsa, merengue. We have different genres. Also, we have the raga. We have rap. We have uh, you have different like folklore for like dances and things like that. And you have racine, which is like the voodoo music.
Is there a specific drink that is a signature drink of the country?
Rum. The Haitian rum is very, very famous. There's different kind of rum. There's somebody's just mentioned it. Wamku is made in Haiti. Is one of the new ones. It's actually from one of my friends, Johnson Napoleon. He's the one behind it. We have Wambabaku, which is mostly known as it's been here for a long time. It's made out of it has as its base like sugarcane. And of course, beer. We have the famous beer Prestige, which has I think so far won like 2 gold medals at the World Beer.
Wow. I'm not a beer person, but hey, I want to try it.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we have one more question. Someone said room cool.
Yeah, one cool.
Uh-huh. And then tell us more about your traveling group.
And in general, the Haitian Nomad is my business, and we plan France world, live all over the world. Haiti, Cuba, Egypt, Benin, and Togo next year. Next year, we're doing a lot of Africa, Kenya. We have a big luxury trip to the south of France on Saint-Tropez that you've been on.
It's amazing, guys.
That's a more luxurious trip. And then, of course, we do a different little trip in the Caribbean. But next year, and we're going to focus on Africa, and also we're going to do some trips in South America and some places in Latin America also.
Excellent. Excellent. Any more questions, guys, that you have, whether it's in Zoom or in Instagram, please? Any last minute? Okay, I guess not. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for being here. I appreciate you taking your time. I know you're really busy. I know people think like, oh, the COVID-19. No, this is when you're actually busy planning for next year and stuff. So thank you so much for joining us here, and really looking forward to what other trips you plan. And thank you for teaching us the history of Haiti, which is, as a Dominican, they don't teach us that. And when I come to the United States, they don't teach that here either.
Right.
So thank you that you took your time to teach us about your country.
It's definitely this, and of course, like there's no way I would say no to especially talk about Haiti with you. So it's definitely my pleasure. And thank you for everybody that joined in. You can definitely find me on Instagram for those of you that are on Zoom. And,
Yes.
I look forward to doing it again.
And you can find all of our episodes in our YouTube channel, Latino World Travelers. We have over 50 episodes already covering different countries and highlighting Latinos who are traveling to many parts of the world, because all we want to do is make sure we are represented in the travel industry. So make sure you check us out. Join our group on Facebook as well. Follow us on our Instagram, like our pictures and our things. Every Thursday we have a new episode with a different country and a different Latino who's traveling and making amazing things around the world. Well, thank you so much. Besos. And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.